Hey guys, we are back with another week of box office. If I seem a little low energy, I think you know why. Let's just get into it. And Juliet, last week, 70, wow. 92% last week, 89% this week, 879K last week, 858K this week. So clearly Charli D'Amelio's presence did not make such a big impact on sales, although And Juliet is continuing to do much better. Big numbers in November and December, so I think And Juliet will be fine. Just reinforcing what I've been saying is that And Juliet is on death's door in a way, but not really. And by that I mean is when you rely on stunt casting, which is what And Juliet is doing, that's a clear sign that a show is not doing good at the box office and they need that extra push. Otherwise, they're most likely to close. And Juliet in the past couple of months has seemed in a very bad spot. But stunt casting only lasts for so long, and eventually that will stop. However, I do think And Juliet is in a okay enough position where I think it will make it into next year, but I think if it, if we see like anything below a 7, that's when the signs are gonna go like, oh my god, this could close next year. The Louis Armstrong musical, last week 74%, this week 75%, 592K last week, 516K this week, an average ticket of $86. This is not good for a wonderful noise or whatever it's called. I think that clearly, I mean, here's the thing. What I said last week about how there are some shows you just look at and you just think, that's a flop. And it looks like it's flopping. Because I don't think anyone really wanted a musical about Louis Armstrong, and I just don't think it, I mean, just the marketing hasn't been there, and it just seems to be getting okay, response from audiences. So, yeah, I don't expect this to be here, in time for the Tonys. And yeah, man, I think it's just kind of a meh show, and that's the kind of the word of mouth. And Louis Armstrong, yes, he is a big star, but it's not like I don't know, Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. That did very good box office. Back to the Future, last week 76%, this week 80%. 749K to 789K, and of course Back to the Future is closing, and it seems on a pretty pathetic note. Cabaret at the Kit Kat Club had 86% last week and 1,006,314. This week, 86% and 901K. Obviously, Cabaret is not doing as good as it did with Eddie and Gail. I do think this will close in March. I know that I don't know how to pronounce her name, but the Moana person is out. But even with her in, it wasn't doing gangbuster numbers anyway. So I do affirm that this will close when the contracts expire. Death Becomes Her, which I did see for 7 performances, did 97.3 last week and 97.97 this week, and 571K to 1,073,018. And that is a very good start for Death Becomes Her. And again, I think that Megan Hilty who was the other person? That person, I don't know, I'll put the picture in there. I think they do bring in box office. Also, Death Becomes Her is a beloved property. I saw many people with t-shirts on, a lot of gay guys. So I think, and the quality of Death Becomes Her is very good. So I could see this becoming a School of Rock waitress style success. I think it has that potential for sure, and it's looking very good. And it's a very expensive production to put on, so it can't go under $1 million for too many weeks, but it can take it. If it can manage to do $1 million until the end of the year, and it can pull in big numbers in during Thanksgiving and Christmas, which I think it will, I think Death Becomes Her is going to be set. Hadestown went from 91% to 91%, and 681K to 634K. Again, Hadestown has been on thin ice since summer of 23, and they've only survived because of stunt casting. These are not good numbers for Hadestown. They're not losing money by the millions every single week, but I think, again, only stunt casting for so long. So, again, Hadestown isn't going to be here this time next year. I think so. But I think we're in the final years of Hadestown, and I think that started a year ago in 23. Hamilton, last week 98% and 1,761,086. And this week, 95% and 1,717,782. Harry Potter continues to not do good at all. Last week, 83%. This week, 85%, 939K to 981K. Again, this show needs to be making $1 million every single week. And again, I think that Harry Potter has recouped its investment, as one of you commented in the past videos. If it gets any lower than this, it has to close. I mean, it's just not sustainable. Hell's Kitchen went from 97% to 94%, and 1,522,834 to 1,275,137. Still a fantastic week, but a significant drop for Hell's Kitchen. Maybe Happy Ending continues to do bad, horrible. Last week, 79%. This week, 78% for 8 performances, and 241K to 294K with an average ticket of $47. Again, that's their strategy. That's why grosses are so low. But as I've stated many times, maybe Happy Ending is not gonna have a happy ending. Mulan Rouge continues to fail. 92% last week, 92% this week, 992 last week to 970K. Again, I think that this is another show of Hadestown, Mulan Rouge, and Juliet relying on stunt casting, and that has proven effective for the past year, but now they're seeing the cons of stunt casting, how it simply is not a viable replacement. 6 went from 75% to 76%, and 650K to 653K. Obviously, it's not good numbers for 6, but it's such an inexpensive production to put on, and it recouped its investment that it can survive in the 6s, and even the 5s. Still not good, still concerning, but I don't think it's going to close. It could, but I don't think it's going to. Suffs went from 93% to 94%, and that's closing, going from 856K to 773K. Sunset Boulevard's a mega hit, 97% last week, 94% this week, and 1,723,064 this week compared to last week's 1,664,663. Cash in those checks, Lloyd Webber, because you got yourself a mega hit. I mean, this is doing like fantastic numbers. Definitely gonna make $2 million at some point. Swept Away is not doing good at all. 82% this week, 5 performances for its first week, an average ticket of $85, and it still only managed to gross 357K. Based on what critics said about it in DC and audience reactions, I think Swept Away will be sweeping away quite soon. Tammy Faye's a flop. Tammy Faye, last week, 80%. This week, 64% for 6 performances. 547K last week, 319K this week. This show is not doing good. The Palace is huge. This is a very costly production. I predict this will close by February or March at the latest. And it seems like audiences seem generally not like this production. I think this could have succeeded if it was, I think pure and simply, Tammy Faye and Swept Away maybe would have been better successful productions if they were actually good. But it appears that those 2 shows are not. The Great Gatsby went from 88% to 80%, and 1,118,766 to 961K. Another good week for Gatsby. The Notebook, and that's closing. Last week, 75%. This week, 74%. 545K last week to 516K this week. The Outsiders, 102.23 last week, and 1,435,426 to this week's 100.89 and 1,331,594. And to tap it off, Water for Elephants, which is also closing. Last week did 58%, this week 61%, last week 658K, this week 587K. Whoo, that's a bad number. So yeah, seems like a lot of the closing shows are going out with a whimper, such as Water for Elephants and The Notebook. And then we have some concerning signs with the new musicals that being swept away. Tammy Faye may be happy ending. On the bright side though, Sunset Boulevard and Death Becomes Her seems to be the 2 hits out of the gate. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, sub, comment. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.